Take your, you're under arrest.
I'm on the phone with the Court of Appeals.
You're under arrest. Put the phone down now.
For what?
I have a warrant for your arrest. Take the phone down
Can I
now.
see it, please?
Like you're supposed to serve it when
Cooperate
we
with
come.
me now.
I will.
Stand up.
I just
Put
filed
your hands behind your back.
Injunction is filed.
Can I turn this off, please?
Yes, you certainly can.
I have a question. Why are you doing this?
You're under arrest.
For
There's a
what?
warrant for your
Can you
arrest.
please tell me?
You're
Ouch!
for violation of the court order.
What court order?
The court order.
You just heard John Feyen say that he was arresting me for violating a court order. Remember that. At this point, when I'm inside Kinko's in downtown Fort Collins and Sheriff John Feyen is arresting me, I had no idea that John Feyen had already repeatedly lied in his official capacity. He had lied to my cell phone provider, T-Mobile. He actually went so far as to lie to T-Mobile and wrote on a forum that he was his own supervisor. John Feyen did that so that he could escape responsibility for breaking the law. I also didn't know at the time that John Feyen had placed a GPS tracking device on my vehicle without a warrant. He never even tried to get a warrant, and he left that tracker on my SUV for more than 4 months. You can actually see by the look on John Feyen's face when he's arresting me that he knows that he has broken the law, that he is at the moment breaking the law. And he looks sick to his stomach because he realizes that he's lied not only to T-Mobile, he's also lied to fellow law enforcement officers. Sheriff John Feyen has lied so many times in his official capacity that it's difficult to track and dissect all of it. But the public has a right to know. The public has a right to know exactly what John Feyen lied about so that he could become elected as Larimer County Sheriff. Now, you wouldn't think that a law enforcement officer who has been on the job for 25 years would have anything interesting in their 25-year-old employment application. However, because John Feyen specifically lied to become elected as Larimer County Sheriff, this part matters. 25 years ago, in the year 2000, John Feyen, as he was handwriting his employment application, says this. Now, the heading on this part of the employment application is called Special Skills. The question is, what skills do you have that are related to the job for which you are applying? And John Feyen writes, ability to communicate effectively with people during both stressful and non-stressful situations. Here's why that matters. In 2022, while John Feyen was campaigning for the office of sheriff, he attended a candidates forum in Loveland, Colorado on February 2nd of 2022. And during that forum, Sheriff John Feyen intentionally, maliciously lied. 25 years ago, John Feyen boasted in his employment application that his one special skill is his ability to communicate effectively with people during both stressful and non-stressful situations. 22 years after he wrote that in his job application to be a cop, when John Feyen was speaking at a political campaign event to cover up his own criminal actions, John Feyen maliciously lied and told the public that I was in prison and that the courts ruled I was an unfit mother. He also later said that I had kidnapped my own child. But then, when he was under oath, because he was being sued for those lies, he swore his vicious lies were because he is not good at speaking when he is under pressure, that he can't think on his feet, and that he is uncomfortable standing up in front of people. Sheriff John Feyen intentionally lied in a public forum to hundreds of thousands of people when he said that I was in prison, that the courts had declared me to be an unfit mother, and that I had kidnapped my child. Sheriff John Feyen lied about me because it was the only way he could get elected, to cover up his own criminal actions that include illegally tapping my cell phone, illegally attaching a GPS tracker to my SUV, and actively tracking me without a warrant for at least 4 months, and for a bogus arrest that never included any charges. In videos that will be released soon, I will break down exactly how John Feyen lied, but for now, this is what matters. John Feyen spent six minutes at that February 2nd, 2022 campaign forum maliciously lying. He lied to cover up his own criminal actions that span more than 2 decades. And he was so desperate to get elected as sheriff that even though he knew he was lying and it could be proven with his own official law enforcement records, he did it anyway. When I sued John Feyen for defamation per se, actual malice, he made a fatal error. He filed through his attorneys, Lindsay Riley and David Vandenberg. He filed what's called an anti-SLAPP motion. It's basically a special motion to dismiss. What Riley and Vandenberg failed to understand is that in Colorado, when you file an anti-SLAPP motion, an evidentiary hearing is required to be held. It was at that evidentiary hearing where Sheriff John Feyen testified under oath. And during his testimony, he repeatedly admitted that he knew what he was saying was false. He knew he had his own law enforcement records to prove that he knew what he was saying was false. And why this matters now, based on what is in his employment file from 25 years ago, is that under oath, during this defamation per se actual malice lawsuit, John Feyen claimed to not be very good at speaking in public. He claimed that he was just caught off guard and that he didn't get into law enforcement for the public speaking. But remember what his 25-year-old employment application says under special skills. Okay, so John Feyen's pretend claim that he doesn't like to speak in public, he didn't become a cop to speak in public, is bogus. We know that now because 25 years ago he said that was one of his special skills. But we have more evidence that John Feyen was lying again when he said that he just got caught off guard and the entire story he fabricated was just because he was surprised and because he wasn't very good at public speaking. The additional evidence we have is a few months after John Feyen lied so horrifyingly to cover up his own crimes, he actually wrote a Facebook post. Now, when you write a Facebook post, it's premeditated, it's not a surprise, it's not accidental. And John Feyen testified under oath as well that he had help writing that post from Kate Kimball and David Moore. If you're following this case at all, you know that David Moore recently quit the Larimer County Sheriff's Office and is now working for Ian Stewart at the Estes Park Police Department. There's a whole story behind that as well. But anyway, back to this. So John Feyen's pretend surprise and his pretend not being very good at public speaking is just that, is pretend. It's a special skill he has. He's had it for 25 years. And you would think over 25 years, if he had a special skill in 2000, that over the 25 years, that special skill has increased exponentially. The truth is that John Feyen lies in his official capacity. He has been lying in his official capacity since 2002 at least. And when he gets caught, the only thing he can do is to continue to lie. Otherwise, he will impeach himself. This is just the beginning. Future videos to be released soon will dissect each of John Feyen's lies. The public has a right to know how John Feyen managed to get elected with 22 years of illegal actions.
This is a question for both of you. John, we'll start out with you. What is a mistake you've made in your law enforcement career? What have you learned from it, and how will that experience impact your role as sheriff?
So can we just say asked and answered with the whole, did you get sued before, right? So attention to detail. Attention to detail is one. What does that do? It's always asking, what's the follow-up, right? Are we doing the right things for the right reasons, for the right time, with the right person, the right place? And is there a promise? Is there a commitment? Is there an expectation that you have to meet, that you have committed to? So, and that's what I failed to do in that instance. So when you talk about mistakes, we talked about that, all right? I didn't follow through. I didn't communicate very well. I didn't make sure that tractor got off of her car. And that was my responsibility as the case officer in that case. And I didn't do that. And so what you do as the sheriff in those situations, you instill a culture of watching everybody's back. And that includes keeping the promises where you made those commitments. And so that's what I would do, and that's what I learned from the mistake I had.
Thanks, John. Jeff?
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you either. And I'm not going to lie to you about that. I will never lie to you or hide anything that's in my past.